tinfoil hat. Oh, what the fuck are you guys even talking about?
Global controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them.
Welcome to Tinfoil Hat. We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Are you ready to get your mind blown?
Good morning, Swarm, and welcome to Tinfoil Hat. You know I am. You know I'm here to do. I'm here to join me as always, Xavier Guerrero, and good friend on the ones and twos, Jay Nice, Johnny Woodard. You're a good friend too.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Everybody. No, I think we got one before Merry Christmas. But happy holidays, everybody. Happy holidays. Guys, I'm just going to tell you, today's episode, nothing but bangers.
My head is still sweating.
Bomb. Dude, this guy just kept wanting to go. And I was like, I can't take anymore. There's too much truth bombs being dropped. I can't digest it all. Dude, I'm telling you, dude. A Dr. Narco Longo came on and dropped the hammer of the god. Dr. Narco Longo came up, and we finally got the episode I've been wanting to talk about. Moors in America, Florida. It is everything. It might be this guy coming in at the end of the year making runs at the Mount Crushmore of 2022.
He's taking my vote. I'm not even gonna lie.
Oh, shit.
I'm throwing mine in there.
Damn, Xavier's calling it his favorite show of the year.
Yeah, it was
crazy, bro. Crazy. So we're super excited. Real quick, if you want to see me live or see anybody live, go to samtripoli.com. Anybody in the history of time. You go samtripoli.com, hit events. Batavia, Illinois. I'm going to be at the Comedy Vault with my good friends, Zane Helberg and Andrew Rafi. They'll be with me. And then Phoenix, Arizona, House of Comedy. Oh, real quick. So Illinois, I'm going to be there the 12th through the 14th. And then the following week, I will be in Phoenix, Arizona, January 18th through the 21st. 21st. Come get weird. Guys, listen, man, there's a lot going on. You just go to samtripoli.com. You can check out all my premium content. Now, here's the thing. Rockfin, for $15, you get everything on the channel. But you guys like, that's a lot of money. Okay. Guess what? They're also allowing you to do $5 subscriptions to per show. And I have 4 shows on there. Okay? I have...
You're already in $20 right there.
No,
but if you paid for all of them, you're already $20. You might as well pay for the whole thing and get it the whole works.
You can get all my stuff. Conspiracy Social Club, Zero, Tinfoil Hat Premium, all there. Okay, then you get First Look at Broken Sim. You get Union of the Unwanted live streams.
We don't smoke the same.
We don't smoke the same. I mean, nothing but bangers for a very, very low price. There's 400 different episodes, 400 different content creators on Rockfin, all for $15. There's no better deal out there. The best are all there. Okay, so go to rockfin.com. Tinfoil Hat, Zero, Conspiracy Social Club. Premium, Broken Simulation. We don't smoke the same. Sign up for any of them. Then just, if you're looking for investment, and listen, this show's starting to cook with gas. We're a top almost 200 financial show in the United States. It's called Cash Daddies.
That's a crowded field.
What?
The financial is a crowd. I mean, everybody throws their hat into the financial game. So
we're banging, bro.
We're banging with some real
just
heat.
go to patreon.com/cashdaddies.
What's that $1,000 a month there?
Dude, for $20, you get daily investment advice from Howie Dewey, who's been crushing it. Johnny, is he crushing it?
Oh, he's killing it. Yeah, they just made, I think, almost 50% on something that he put in yesterday. So, yeah.
Yeah, and then for $1,000 a month, Johnny and I, and we'll even invite Xavier if you really want to. You don't get any of the money, but you can watch. For $1,000 a month, we'll watch you and your significant other make love and give any tips.
And we do give scholarships. We tried to give a couple out last night to
well, if
Broken
you
Sam.
make a case, we'll give you 99% off scholarship. Okay,
We tried last night, but
we tried.
Do they get a free Blue Chew with that?
Dude, I'll throw in a Blue Chew if you get the $1,000.
we're not throwing in medication.
You can go to samtribute.com and okay, I don't know why it's not showing up here. We have a bunch of different t-shirts. Go to t-shirts. Go to tinfoil@t-shirts.com. Sorry guys, it's taking so long. But we have our special holiday sweater, the Christmas mushroom sweater for Tinfoil Hat. All these shirts, great way to support the show, okay? Great way to support the show. Also, okay, that's it. Just buy gold with Wise Wolf. I have brown gas. People have been buying that. I don't know why that banner's not up there. My cameos are on fire, T-shirts, and that's it. Anything else?
No, we're good to rock. Let's go. It's
Let's
the best
go.
episode.
Enjoy it.
Check out Broken Sim. We had one just drop Monday, and we're gonna have another one coming out soon. They've been really good.
Dude.
Werewolves and angels. That's all I'll say.
This episode is, I'm telling you, is the truth bomb of all truth bombs. Enjoy the show.
We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink.
All right, let's get into it. Very excited for today's episode. We're trying to go out with a bang. That we got this episode, and I think we got 2 more after it. Then we wrap it up for the year. The show has grown so much, and it's because of shows like this episode. I'm very excited to have this gentleman on. He has a YouTube channel called Old World Florida. Please welcome Dr. Narco Longo. Pew, 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 pew. How are you, Doctor?
I'm good, Sam. How are you doing?
Well,
Glad to be here.
I'm crushing it. I appreciate you spending some time with us on our show. I love these topics, hidden history, all that stuff. It's probably right there with probably my favorite topic. Hidden history is probably my favorite topic. It's really opened my eyes to the world we live in and the layers of deceit that we've been born into. And so I'm excited to talk to you about what you've discovered. Now, for our listeners who may not be familiar with you, okay, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where they can find you?
Sure. I'm Old World Florida on YouTube, and basically I'm a researcher, YouTuber, documentary maker, I guess, and I really just, I guess you could say, a Florida historian at this point. I've lived in Florida my whole life, have always been conspiracy minded. I had a few experiences that led me to pretty much commit to this path, and that happened when I was about 18. I'm 26 now, so that's what I've been up to since then, and amassing this type of information, Florida history, because people don't realize Florida is kind of the birthplace of America. It's kind of left out of a lot of the history books. People think it's always, Virginia or Maryland or, these English settlements, when the Spanish were here quite a while before.
Well,
but,
I'm excited to talk to you because I've always thought, like, whenever you guys, I don't know when the last time you guys were in Florida. You were recently there.
I was there like last month. Yeah.
Florida is wonderful. It's just wonderful. And when you go there, you're like, this is great. And then you just see how nationally it is portrayed. Florida man, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And,
It's a big state, though.
It's a big state.
It's a diverse state. I'll say.
And there's some crazy people, but that's also what makes it great, is that there's some crazy people. But whenever I hear that there's this overwhelming narrative on anything, I go, why is that overwhelming narrative out there? What are they trying to get us to think? And why are they getting us to try to think that? Okay? And I'm just telling you, man. I mean, just look at everything that's happened over the last couple of years. I mean, we go from like Florida man and everyone laughing at Florida to, you remember Basalt guy? That was a big story.
Oh, yeah, the basalt cannibal guy. They ate that guy's face. Yeah.
Right? Who, like, now people are starting to talk about some MK Ultra, some virus vaccine
Oh, I haven't heard that one.
stuff. Yeah, that's what, and that the bath salt thing was a cover up. Okay,
Fascinating.
so we get into that, like all the different things that are going on. So I'm very, very excited. Now, you let us know a little thing. You're not an official doctor. But you just decide to grab that moniker. You're just like, I'm a doctor. I don't care. Is it? And are you just poking holes at the medical community? What are you doing?
Well, I've never tried to pose as a medical doctor, but I definitely don't have high regard for doctors in general, not in the modern context. So I really have no shame adopting that that moniker. So it's a pseudonym, really. It's actually my name rearranged. So if you can work that out, but
Interesting. I like that. I was wondering who named their kid Narco. It's very interesting. You know, it's so funny because I think the guy who is in charge of the WHO, he just made himself a doctor, and he has no real
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's.
He's like, I'm a doctor.
I'm not surprised.
Isn't
And
there
it's like-
plenty of people that do that?
Oh yeah, and then you have the Reverend L. Sharpton. He's not a reverend, and the Reverend Jesse Jackson. They are not reverends of anything. They just put that on there because they know it plays to their constituents, and they're like, "Oh, he's a man of God." Oh, he's just a dude who works for the FBI.
And here's another thing: who questions it? Like, who questions the doctor? Hey, are you a real doctor? This is the
What
first
about
time.
a bishop? Who questions a bishop? You know what I mean?
True.
How'd you get that name? Bishop? Bishop. What is this, chess? What are we doing?
Should I hit him up, seeing that I found Jesus now? Should I hit him up, tell him I'm in the glory?
Yeah.
Come on
he'll
back
just say,
on the show.
You're a deceiver.
Rhyme. I'm not a deceiver.
No, I said he'll just say you're a deceiver.
Okay. All right. Well, sorry that we got a little weird there, Dr. Narco Longo. I'm very excited to talk to you. So where do you want to begin? Do you want to talk about the Garden of Eden and what you believe you discovered?
well, it's not necessarily my discovery, but I definitely agree, or else I wouldn't be shouting it from the rooftops. But I guess we could kind of just start with what you said, Sam. You go down to Florida, you feel great. It's wonderful. And it's almost kind of like a well-kept secret. Everyone knows about Florida. Everyone knows about the beaches. But it still has this negative connotation. Florida, right? It's the land down under. It's kind of like America's Australia, right?
Yeah.
But the Garden of Eden, well, anyone that's familiar with my channel will know Florida is the Garden of Eden, the historical, physical Garden of Eden. And there's many different angles you could approach that by, but just starting out, it has the most constant temperate climate in the world, the Gulf of Mexico area. Florida is not hot. People think it's hot. They'd probably put it at the list of hottest cities in America. If you gave someone the opportunity or asked them to, they'd probably put Miami pretty high up on that list of cities. Well, what if I told you Miami has only ever gone over 100 degrees Fahrenheit one time in recorded history? And that was 1941 or 1942. And that is the only time it's gone over 100 degrees. So you have that, you have the weather. Basically, Florida cannot stay warm. It cannot stay hot. The Gulf Stream keeps the area so moderately temperate. The air just blows right over. So it's a constant supply of fresh, clean air, cool air.
So let me ask you something. So when I have friends of mine that move from California to Florida, and they're like, dude, the humidity is killing me.
It's the humidity. There.
It's molesting me. It touches me in my private places. It violates me. What is your thoughts on that?
Well, I live in a van most of the time here in Florida, so I'm spending vast majority of my time outside. I would say when you're adjusted to it, I was born here. It's not uncomfortable. The summers definitely can be. But did you know every summer, Florida very, very rarely ever goes over 100 degrees. Kansas, Nebraska, all these places up in the northern United States, they will each, Colorado even, they will each reach 115 degrees plus every summer and have for the last 100 years. Florida barely, if ever, goes over 100, as I just showed you. As for the humidity, well, you might find it uncomfortable if you're wearing 10 pounds of makeup on your face, if you're overweight, if you're a drinker, if your pores are screaming for help, you know. So I think Florida's a land for the healthy, and I think God designed it that way. And that's why all the old people come here, because they're sick of freezing in the torrid zone. Cold weather is hostile to the human body. And basically, all these old people come down here. They're being pulled by the electromagnetic, impulse, the Bermuda Triangle, whatever you want to call it, the fountain of youth.
Wow.
And that's why they all come here at the end of their life to reap the benefits unknowingly. And they do so.
Can I ask now, do the benefits and do the special qualities of the state begin at the border? Because the border seems kind of arbitrary. The border is arbitrarily drawn, I would say. So where are you saying, I mean, I think we're using Florida, is just kind of a matter of convenience, that word. Where are you saying these benefits truly begin? Is it an area centralized around like Miami, would you say? What are we talking here? Because, I mean, does it count as far south as Key West? What are we talking about?
Jacksonville?
Primarily the Gulf Coast of Florida.
The Gulf Coast. Oh, wow.
The Gulf Coast of Florida is the true and only Fertile Crescent. The Fertile Crescent in the Middle East is neither fertile nor a crescent. There's barely any water, certainly not much spring water, okay? It's arid. Agriculture is nearly impossible. There's such little fertile land and clean water that's why these areas are constantly warring for thousands of years. Florida has such abundance. It supplies enough sustenance through its produce for about 50 countries, right? Florida alone can feed 50 countries, okay? You show me one country in the Middle East that you think is the lush, tropical, subtropical, hospitable paradise in which Adam and Eve, regardless of, your religious beliefs, the cradle of civilization, where Adam and Eve would have been able to live naked. It was not the Middle East. And we can get into all the history of this. This is just all my opinion so far. I haven't really shown you anything.
But yay, we want to hear it. Why do you think the Garden of Eden and the Fertile Crescent are in Florida? What data is there?
Okay, sure. Well, basically, this is going to get tied into Atlantis too. I know I kind of wanted to keep those separate, but they're inadvertently connected.
All right, I'm listening.
Okay. Well, let's start with the Fertile Crescent. That's a good place to start. The Mississippi is the Nile. It is the true Nile. Okay. A lot of people are in denial about this, right? So Mississippi, now the River Nile was nicknamed the River Isis, the River of Isis. Okay. Nile does not have the word ISIS in it. Can you show me one river on the planet that has the word ISIS inside of its name?
Can you hold on, let's play. No. Can you go?
I know 3 rivers.
Of course not.
What are your rivers that you know?
Amazon,
Okay.
the Nile, Mississippi. Yeah. And he named 2 of them.
Hey, you just said it.
What?
Mississippi, right?
Yeah.
Mississippi.
Well,
ISIS.
That's what he said.
ISIS.
Yeah, but you're like, I don't know. And like one to 3 you named is the answer to it.
It's not ISIS.
He already said the answer, though.
Yeah.
It's Mississippi, but it's the Mississippi River.
Mississippi has the word ISIS found right smack in the middle of it.
No, but what I'm saying is he said Mississippi has ISIS in it. Can you name another river that has ISIS? That's how he said it.
Oh, no, I didn't say another.
No, he
Sorry.
didn't say that.
Sorry, I was just being dramatic.
He did.
No. You said, can you name
Another river that
in
has
the Middle East
Right.
that says.
Other than Mississippi, is the
Did
way
you
he was
say
saying.
Mississippi?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess I'm the asshole in that one. My apologies, Xavier. You can call me an idiot. You're allowed. You get one get out jail free card. Okay.
It's my first one. I don't know how to use it.
Interesting. So because ISIS is in Mississippi, you think that that means something?
Well, that's just a tiny piece of this.
Okay. Respect.
Well, I mean, it's hard to approach from any angle, but the Fertile Crescent is a good place to start. I'll explain. The Fertile Crescent, like I said, there's no Fertile Crescent in the Middle East. Okay, I have a very hard time believing that land originated in the Fertile Crescent. There was 4 rivers going out of Eden: the Euphrates, Tigris, the Pison, and the Gihon. 2 of them have not been located. They don't know where they are. They say maybe they're dried up. They don't know. So we only have the 2 to go off of. And that is pretty much the only evidence that they have that the Middle East is the Fertile Crescent. Mesopotamia, right? Mesopotamia is pretty much synonymous with Fertile Crescent. But what if I told you Mesopotamia is Mississippi-tamia, or maybe it's Mexopotamia, the Gulf of Mexico, which the Mississippi feeds into. Now, you're probably thinking, well, if this were the true cradle of civilization, we would expect to find one Abrahamic religion there, that originated there. Well, I'm telling you that Islam originated in the Gulf of Mexico, in the southeastern United States.
All right, we're in it. Here we go.
Now, how is that? You have the Muskogee people of Florida. Okay. You have South Carolina, which was once part of Florida territory, with its crescent, Arab crescent, and palm tree, which is an Arab insignia, Islamic insignia. You have New Orleans, which was at one time called Crescent City, for the crescent moon. You have Texas, which is the Lone Star. So if you know anything about Islam, it's a crescent moon and a star. Alabama has an Arabic prefix, Al-Abama. Okay. You have along the Mississippi River, you have in Athens, a Venice, a Cairo, Memphis, Alexandria, a Carthage. You can go on and on. Okay. So which one of these are first? Were these just explorers that were so infatuated with the Bible they named everything they saw after the Bible? I don't think that's the case. For example, well, I was talking about the Muskogee. Let's look at some Muscogees so that you guys can see what I'm talking about.
What state did you say had the Islamic flag in it or a symbol?
South Carolina.
The Lone State.
South Carolina.
Has the crescent. As
South
part
Carolina
of the flag. It's a palm
is the
tree
crescent.
and the crescent moon.
So South Carolina has the crescent. Okay. Florida has Crescent City. I can show you guys all this.
Oh, snaps, bro.
Actually, Mobile, Alabama, is actually Mobilla, and it was called Mobilla until they anglicized it. Mobilla is Alabama backwards. Mobilla, Alabama. Okay. This is an Arabic prefix. Alabama, Algonquin. Feed me some other ones if you know. Albuquerque. Okay. This is like algebra, alcohol. These are all Arabic words.
Interesting.
Now, who was the first people to come to Florida? They were the Spanish. Well, what if I told you that months before Columbus set foot in the Americas, that Spain had just kicked the Moors, a Muslim empire, out of Spain?
Okay, now it's getting interesting. Now we're getting interesting.
And there you have your runaway Muslims. Okay. Now, the most famous group of natives in Florida are called the Seminoles. Seminole means to run away. It also means Semitic. Seminole is the Semitic. These are Semitic people in America, and I'm going to show you what they look like.
So the Moors were Islamic?
Yes, sir.
And you're saying that Islam started in the States?
I'm going to show you some pictures, and you decide for yourself.
Just don't put Muhammad up there.
Yeah. Are you allowed to do that on Rockfin?
You are.
I'm not.
I'm not. It's already
Here we
on.
go.
Can you see it?
Yep, we can see some. Yeah.
What if his name is actually Mohammed? That's
Well, just
American.
wait, guys.
That's a lot more
Just
American.
wait.
Mohammed.
Yeah. That's
Now, this man you are looking at right here is a Native American, believe it or not. Now, you raise your hand when you tell me you think you're looking at a North African or a non-American. Okay. These are all Native Americans, by the way. Officially, we're told.
Yeah, I mean that guy looks like Moroccan or something. That last
Exactly.
guy.
Moroccan is Moors. So Mauritania, Morocco.
Mauritius.
All right, so if you're listening at home, he's going through the doctor is going through a series of pictures, which, as Johnny said, they look Moroccan. They don't look like Native American.
They're definitely not dressed like Native Americans. That's not the usual Native American attire.
These are not your feather and war paint Native Americans. These are turban wearing,
and these
Arabic
are the Moors.
clothing.
Billy
And if you know-
Bowlegs.
if-
Oh, that's Billy Bowlegs right there.
Yes, you know Billy Bowlegs. Yes, good job.
Is that for real?
He said it.
Yeah.
Loud, man.
Oh,
Billy Bowlegs. So the average height. Now we're going to introduce another dimension to this whole thing.
Wow.
The average height to Seminoles, 6'4". You know what their average life expectancy was up until about the 1960s?
how long?
100 years old in the wild.
Damn.
Out in the wild, no air conditioning, no nothing, just roughing it every day. 6'4". They look like no one in the Americas.
Those are good genes.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
now that we're told the Seminoles officially, the mainstream has a big issue with the Seminoles. They don't talk about them. These were the group that Jackson was spending like billions of dollars trying to stomp out and eradicate. That's why they ran back into the Everglades. So
That looks very Middle Eastern, that guy.
another thing about the Seminoles is that they had some of the most blue and purple dye in the pre-modern times, meaning if you know anything about blue and purple dye, that was the symbol of royalty, of high class, because it was so hard to acquire. Well, it only comes from a couple places. They have those sea snails that the Phoenicians were pulling up and built their empire off of. They also come from the horseshoe crabs of the west coast of Florida.
Whoa.
So this blue blood, not only is it the dye that makes these royal clothes, these coveted colors that are so hard to get, this is also the blood that they are experimenting with to live forever, because horseshoe crabs pretty much don't die. They can live, for a long, long time. They don't even know how long they live, really, because they don't age. So they're studying their blood, which is blue, right? So you hear the term blue-blooded people, right? These horseshoe crabs, which the Maya were traveling to go get, basically were very valuable. Now, you mentioned Miami earlier. You want to know something that they're not going to tell you in history class?
What?
Miami is Maya-me. The Maya were in Florida, but they will not tell you that. They will not admit that. They are so dead set on the Maya.
Well, okay, I got one now.
never
That guy
came
in the
to
middle.
Florida.
That guy in the middle is not. He looks European to me.
Yeah, it does look pretty.
He is that is either Frank Cushing, I believe, or some other guy.
Oh, okay. Now, is this what is the purported explanation for this dress? Is this like westernized dress? Is that what they would say?
The official explanation for the Seminoles and why they look so non-American is that they're a mix of two people: Celtic renegades, like Celtic people who were disagreeing with everything that the current colonists were doing. So they actually sided with the natives and joined these tribes. That's the official story. It's a complete load of horseshit, but that's the official story. And then that's half their blood. The other half of their blood was runaway slaves. Runaway slaves. Well, were they runaway slaves or were they runaway Moors?
Interesting. That's interesting, bro. So they probably associate whenever you do a DNA test, which please don't do, okay? They probably test you. You come up more. They tell you you got slave blood.
Well, do you know why? It's because if you test native Seminoles, they will come back half African, half Celtic. Well, there's one problem with that. What are the Moors? The Moors of Spain are black Islamic Africans who invaded, well, as we're told, invaded Spain and took it over for a period of hundreds of years, okay? Prior to those dark-skinned people coming in, they all looked like Irish people. All of Spain was Celtic people. This is why Portugal is the port to Gaul. Gaul is the Celtic lands, port to Gaul, Portugal. So this is like Gaelic, is Gaul, Gaelic. So these were Celtic people. When the Moors took them over, they mixed and you get half African, half Celtic. So that's their bullshit story as to why you get half African, half Celtic blood. The most famous Seminole ever, his name was Osceola, right? Like Florida State University has Osceola, their mascot. Well, Osceola is not his real name. His real name was Billy Powell. And this guy we're looking at right here, that's not Osceola, but you can see this one's very Scottish dressing as well. So this was actually a federation. And from the word Muskogee, you get the word Muscovite, which is where we get the word Moscow. Do you know how many states in the southeast United States have a city named Moscow?
How many?
A lot of them, at least 5. Okay. Athens, Corinth. Why is that? Because the Creek are the Greek. The Muskogee and the Seminoles, who are Semitic, they also go by the word Creek. Well, Creek is Greek. How do we know this? There's New Smyrna, Florida. There's Venice. There's Naples. There's all these old city names that are unexplained. St. Petersburg, for example. You have Muskogee people. Muscovy, Russia. Well, you have St. Petersburg, Florida, and St. Petersburg, Russia.
So wasn't that Petrograd though for a while, like during the communists, and they changed it back, right?
Sorry, what was that?
When's your suggestion is that the St. Petersburg in Russia was named after the one in Florida? Is that right?
Or the same god by the same people that revere the same god. I'll tell you who Peter is. Okay. Peter is Jupiter. And I guess we're going to cross over into some astrology here.
Oh, I don't want to get out of order. So if you want to do that at the end, it looks like you want to do that towards the end, so we can get into that.
I have one question. What was the population of them? Was there a big population? We're talking thousands, 10,000s?
See, the issue is that these guys, we're given such a bullshit story on them. There's such little information to go off of as is. But I can tell you, as of population, we're told these were tribes of maybe a couple thousand in the Everglades fighting an army of over 50,000 that Andrew Jackson sent. Did you know that the Seminole Wars, which happened in the early to mid 1800s, was the most money the American government ever spent fighting a group of natives? So maybe that will tell you how big this power was, because we're told pretty much nothing about them other than the runaway slave narrative. But there's a very European looking guy. But I'll show you some other pictures.
Thank you. Dude, that's crazy. I mean, dude, I love, because I've seen a lot of people talking about this, and I feel like the story of the Moors is starting to come out more and more, because based on that Lady King or whatever movie that came out where they completely lied about the story. And then people were just like, well, you know, that's bullshit. And the fact that there were tons of Moors in America and that the Moors came here way before Christopher Columbus. And the notion that this country started when Christopher Columbus landed. No, dude. No.
So, in a weird way, you said the runaways. So was Christopher Columbus chasing them, trying to figure out where they went?
No.
That's your
Really?
very intelligent connection, because that's pretty much.
Oh shit! There we go. The runaways. You got to follow them. Where the fuck did they go? They're my slaves. Don't run away.
Damn! XT's on fire this episode. Sam looking dumber than normal.
Christopher Columbus was actually Jewish. His real name was Cristobal Colon. That's a fact. Cristobal Colon.
Oh my God! Every Italian just lost it on this fucking episode.
Columbus is not an Italian name, not like that. When he went to Portugal, it became Colombo and Columbus. Okay, well, he is descended from the Colonna family, which is a very ancient, very powerful family. So he was not some upstart sailor just, looking for his chance to make it big. And they were not prepared for any spice trading, let me tell you. They took a couple hundred armed men, war dogs. Okay. They were not ready for trading. They were doing some war making. Right.
So Christopher Columbus was sent by the Queen at that time to go bang with the Moors in America?
Yes. That's what it looks like. That's what it's looking like. For example, when Columbus arrived, he was greeted with gifts. He was welcomed by the Taino people of Puerto Rico. Okay, he thought about things for a couple days, and then he basically hacked their heads off and enslaved the ones that he felt like enslaving. So that was day one, essentially.
Day one.
Were these
agenda.
naive people? Why were they so welcoming? They just hadn't experienced that kind of warlike nature. Why were they so welcoming to strangers?
Well, some people question the whole Columbus narrative entirely, and I don't blame them. But even just using his, I'll pull up a picture that helps explain that.
Well, you said that. Is that the same thing as like when, what was it? The Spaniard that conquered Hernan Cortez that took over Mexico, they welcomed him because he thought he was a god. You got to think about it. You're a Native American. You see people coming in ships. You're like, these are gods. And they welcome them with gifts and shit.
We can get into that too, because that's going to take us into Atlantis a little bit, because that was not the first time that blonde hair, blue-eyed people showed up.
All right, so we're going to get into it when you're ready to talk about that. But
Okay.
Here we go.
I've got a picture. And this will help tie it into the Garden of Eden, like I was saying. So this is one of the accounts that went back to Europe after the first expeditions to Florida. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Let's go, yeah.
Early Spanish adventure. The spirit of this and other Spanish enterprises may be gathered from the following passage in an address to the king, signed by Dr. Pedro de Santander and dated 15th July, 1557. It is lawful that your majesty, like a good shepherd, appointed by the hand of the eternal Father, should tend and lead out your sheep, since the Holy Spirit has shown spreading pastures whereon are feeding lost sheep, which have been snatched away by the dragon. Now, pause here. America means dragon. The word America means land of the dragon, or the plumed serpent, America. Okay. One of the first founders of America was a Viking by the name of Ericsson, or Leif Erikson.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there's your America. Erica is also the root word of Iroquois, Cherokee, like Hanukkah, right? CH. And if you turned on History Channel 10 years ago, they were all talking about how Native Americans are descended from Semitic people. Now, 10 years later, we're all looking at this from a totally different angle, and it's considered conspiracy theories. But I'll keep reading.
That's
Snatched-
crazy, bro.
Snatched away by the dragon, the demon. These pastures are the new world, wherein is comprised Florida, now in possession of the demon. And here he makes himself adored and revered. This is the land of promise, possessed by idolaters, the Amorite, the Amalekite, the Moabite, and the Canaanite. This is the land promised by the eternal Father to the faithful, since we are commanded by God in the Holy Scriptures to take it from them, being idolaters, and by reason of their idolatry and sin, to put them all to the knife, leaving no living thing save maidens and children, their cities robbed and sacked, their walls and houses leveled to the earth. And that's what they did.
My favorite part of that is save maidens and children.
I
You're
thought
like,
the same thing.
why don't you just say you just killed all the guys?
Yeah, it's another one of those weird historical advantages of being a woman that nobody ever talks about.
That nobody ever. It's totally crazy, bro. That is nuts.
Let's talk about this. Amorite. Amorite is a biblical way of saying more. Amorite. These are the homeland of the Moors. So one of the first passages coming back from Florida to the old world was saying there are Moors here. Amorite. Amalekite. Well, Malachite comes from the Congo. Amalekite. Yeah, Moors and Congolese. Moabite and Canaanite. Canaanite is Phoenicia or Carthage or Israel. Canaanite. These are no nonsense words. Canaanite means from Canaan, Phoenicians, the pre-Hebrew people. So in this letter from Pedro de Santander, he's telling the king what land they had just found. Did you know on Columbus's third voyage, when he arrived in the north shore of, I think Brazil, but the Caribbean, he said, this is paradise. He said, we found the land of Garden of Eden, the paradise of the Old Testament. And he was convinced. So they knew this. They kept it a secret for about 300 years. Okay. Then the Americans got their hands on Spain. And then, we'll get into all that. But I hope that...
That's incredible. That's crazy, dude. I mean, I'm just I don't believe anything in history. What am I going to do when my daughters come home and start talking history? I'd be like, okay, just tell them what they want to hear. Just know it's all a lie. And when you're ready, Daddy will drop the good stuff. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Go ask your parents. Go. My dad used to do that with me as a kid. Dude, that's crazy, bro. I've been waiting to do an episode like this forever. I'm so happy we're doing it. It's just the whole narrative is bullshit about
let's
the history.
check out some... Remember I said those guys were tall, right?
Yeah.
They're tall. Well, how does that play in? How does that play into the Bible? Well, in the Bible, people lived for hundreds of years and were very, very tall. Okay. We got younger and shorter as the ages went on. And that's very explicit in the Bible. Not just the Bible, pretty much all religious texts. But I'm going to show you, Florida is a land of giants. It has always been. Okay. And this is hidden from us because they are very selective about what they put in the museums. The Smithsonian is not our friends, guys. Okay. They do a lot more covering up than they do teaching. But let me show you any second now. Ready?
Yep.
Yeah, see that?
No, it's not.
You got your desktop. We're seeing that folder. Giant.
Yep.
Oh, giants.
That's
Uh-oh, spoiler alert.
Okay, Tampa Tribune, 1925. Skeletal remains of Florida giant is discovered. Well, that's one giant. Okay.
What year was
Discoveries of skeletal remains here, which may have an important bearing on theories of a giant race believed to have inhabited the Florida West Coast before the coming of the Spaniards, were made this morning by workmen grading the island road near the Charlotte and Lee county lines. The discoveries include a skull and a femur or thigh bone, both so highly mineralized as to be almost pure silica and limestone. Silica and limestone bones, guys. Very strange.
That
And
is
kept
strange.
kept from crumbling only by immersing in gelatin solution. Blah, blah, blah. The skull measured 23 centimeters in length and 18 in width. That's a lot more than an average skull, by the way. About
Four
one-fourth
yeah.
larger than normal modern skulls. Let me show you some more. This is the Cedar Keys giant. What's this newspaper? 1922. Big mound yields skeleton. The remains of a gigantic aborigine was unearthed a few days ago in the midst of an Indian oyster mound. So there we have our first mention of mounds.
And that happened right around when they took Negroes to Jacksonville.
Yep. And that was only about 20 years after Henry Flagler. Henry Flagler, the father of Florida, was busted using slaves 50 years after slavery ended. And that's the guy whose face is all over Florida, right? The Seminoles also fought with the Confederacy. Did you guys know that? The largest slave plantation in Florida, or one of the largest, Kingsley Plantation, was ran by an African queen who we're told was bought in Africa, married in America, and when her husband died, she ran that plantation by herself for years and years. So this whole Civil War narrative needs to be looked at.
You're saying that the native indigenous, and is indigenous even the right word to use? I mean, that infers
it is the right word. It is the right word, Sam. Let's look at the word indigenous. Why did they call everyone in America Indians? Well, what's the difference between Indian and indigenous? Because you're not allowed to call them Indians, right? That's rude. But indigenous is okay. That's the same word, essentially. Let me tell you why. What does indigenous also have in the word? I'm a linguist, by the way. I'm a phoneticist. Okay. What was the word I just said? I completely forgot. Indigenous. Indigo. These are indigo-skinned people, dark-skinned. Indigenous means dark-skinned. It does not mean native. It means indigo-skinned.
It's interesting. Indigo also is blue, which is, you referenced earlier, the royal color.
Right, exactly, the royal color.
So they just put them all together as one?
Oh, Johnny!
They kind of put them all together as one. Indian is different than indigo because Indians were actually white-skinned people. These were the Vikings that were down here in the Gulf of Mexico thousands of years ago. They were so white that they had to use red ochre body paint as sunscreen because these were people from Norway in Florida. So they were very white. They needed sunscreen. Unlike the indigenous people who don't need sunscreen, the Indians were redskins. Indians are redskins. I've seen a Native American. They are not so red that I would look one in the eye and call him red.
Oh my God, that blows my mind. So the redskin isn't about indigenous, it's about sunburned white Vikings.
Yeah, these are either white people that are so sunburnt that they're red, or they're covering themselves with red ochre iron oxide paint, which is what Cro-Magnon is, because these burials all over the Atlantic coast of all these continents have burials that are older than anything that are covered with red paint. So these are the Phoenicians.
Now, is this applicable to the other tribes as well? The other tribes that are scattered throughout the North America?
You listen, if you showed up to Rome, 2,000 years ago, you would have varying levels of technology in a city, right? If you go into Atlanta, not every person in the city is living in a 5-star penthouse with an iPhone, right?
I just mean the genetics, though, like how they appeared. Did all of the?
Yes, I was just trying to paint a point where in America, when the Europeans arrived, you had varying levels of technology, complexity, civilization, right? So There were many races in America. I guess I can just flat out say that. There was black in America. There was white in America before Columbus. And there was Asian. Okay. Most of our northern Native Americans that you see being depicted with bows and arrows on horses with the kind of squinty eyes, those are Mongolian hordes that are left over in America from a previous war that we are not necessarily told about. If you guys know about Tartaria, this is kind of venturing into Tartarian territory.
Yo, you a Tartarian dog? You into Tartaria?
Of course, yeah.
Oh man, now these are a few of my favorite things.
Do you think those Mongolians you're talking about, did they pass through that strait, the Bering Strait?
Those are the only people that passed through the Bering Strait. All of America was not peopled or populated
from the
through
land
the Bering Strait.
Anyways.
Only the Asiatic ones. What's an Eskimo? Eskimos or Inuit, they look native. They look native Asian.
Oh, they look just like those northeastern Russians. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
They're
they do.
Asian.
Yeah.
Eskimos are Asian. Northern, like Pocahontas. When you see her in movies, Pocahontas is an Asian phenotype. Okay, these northern Native Americans were largely actually Asian, and that's like Genghis Khan on their horses with their bows. The Mongolians, those are the Apache, this warrior culture in America, in the north, in the plains, right? In the south, you get this Moorish barbarian or Berber, like North African, Phoenician, Arabic culture. That's why this is the land of the crescent. The Gulf of Mexico is the Fertile Crescent. It makes a perfect crescent. It's right there for everyone to see. Cuba is the Kaaba of Islam, the land of the cube. Cuba is the Kaaba. Okay.
So let me ask you something real quick, because this is. So I've been trying to do research on this. Did Islam exist before Muhammad?
I mean, that's tough because who's Muhammad? Is he an Arabic person? He's actually not very Arabic. They actually have some of Muhammad's DNA, his hair. They have a strand of his hair on display in these museums, right? It's red hair. So his hair was red, solid red. And the tradition of dyeing your hair red or your beard red that they have in Afghanistan and all these other countries comes from the fact that they're trying to emulate this original red-haired leader that they had with a beard. Here's another one. Follow the beards. Okay, if you're into Tartaria, you should be into Barbaria too, because they're the same word. Tartaria means east of Rome, because we have a Roman history, guys. Remember, we have a Roman history. Tartaria means east of Rome. Barbaria means west of Rome. That's why you have Berbers in North Africa that are black, and you have barbarians in Germany and Scandinavia that are white. It's a Roman perspective to history. Okay, so Barbaria and Tartaria are the same thing. Well, in the Barbary Wars, where America was fighting Moors, we were fighting Morocco, Mauritania, Algeria, I think, these Moorish countries. That was in the early 1800s, mid 1800s, the Barbary Wars. As soon as we won the Barbary Wars, fighting North African Moorish pirates, what happened in America? The age of piracy in South Florida. The Navy, the U.S. Navy, immediately left North Africa and came to the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean and Key West. And they enacted martial law in Key West in the name of fighting piracy. So who were these pirates that they were fighting that just popped up in Key West? Well, Florida was acquired in late 18-teens, early 1820s, right? Officially. In 1820, there was not a single permanent resident in Key West. By 1830, Key West was the richest city in America. How is that possible?
That's crazy, dude.
And we're told that it was all due to pirates that were making such good money, and shipwreckers and divers, treasure divers. Well, I guess all these pirates were doing their taxes. If Florida, if Key West became the richest city in America, and it was the most populated city in Florida, one problem: there was no bridge. You had to get there by boat. So what was going on in Key West, where it was in a matter of 9 years, went from not having a single person living there to being America's richest city? What happened? Well, it was pirates. It was the Barbers, the Berbers, the Seminoles, Semitic people. But
they showed. Hold on. So you're saying?
I think they moved in.
They just moved in with all their pirate booty?
It's more just that the magnifying glass went to Florida because they were fighting the Moors.
Okay.
America was fighting the Moors in North Africa. As soon as that war ended, we unofficially started fighting the Moors in South Florida. Okay?
Oh, so we went in, took over, and then we're like, oh, yeah, by the way, there's a lot of gold here, and now it's the richest city out there.
Yes.
Whoa, bro.
Yep. And when the first railroad got to Key West, the population plummeted. So think about that. The only way to get there was by boat up until early 1900s, 1910s, I think 1920s maybe. When the first railroad got to Key West, that Flagler used slaves to build, right? And Seminoles. They were using Seminoles and slaves to build it. When they got there, the population decreased. So how does that make sense? If this is the first time that you can actually access it by land, all the people just leave? Makes very little sense.
So they went there and killed everybody. Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They went there, killed everything, transferred the wealth to essentially the white people, the new white people, and that's all there is to the story, really.
Oh my God, dude, this is just so fucking blows my mind because, this is Sam speaking. There has been a giant psyop against the black community, this victimhood put on them, that they all came here in a fucking boat, defeated, and turned into slaves, right? When in reality, they discovered America and were here before a lot of people. We also had the Vikings, right? But the Redskins, dude. I mean, just think about that.
Can we bring that name back for NFL?
Yeah, we should. We should go tell them, hey, man, it's actually a good thing. Let's change your name. Just change the dude to a Viking.
You know who the only Indian team that's still going with their Indian name in America?
Who?
The Braves?
The Seminoles.
The
Florida Seminoles. Florida State Seminoles.
Well, we have the Braves, but they'll probably change that soon.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay, I was thinking football, sorry.
Okay, it's all good. Damn, dude.
So let's talk about some anchors. I've just shown you that there was some transatlantic people in the Americas before Columbus. Okay, that shouldn't be too much of a shock to people because the Vikings were here officially.
True. Good point.
Well, something I forgot to leave out, Mexico being the homeland of Islam, Mecca comes from the same root word as Mexico. And the old Mecca of Mexico, well, there's your Mecca. There's your holy people of Islam, the Olmec.
Oh, shit, the Olmec.
You know the Olmec?
They're the huge heads that they find. Those are Olmec heads.
And they do not look Native American, those heads. They look either African or maybe even
those
Asian.
big old heads.
Yeah. You know, we've talked about them. These right here.
Oh yeah, damn.
Well, you've got that's Mecca.
So you're saying they were Muslims?
The cube?
It's like Kang the Conqueror.
They were a lot of things. Buddhism comes from, people are going to roll their eyes because we're just going one after the next, but Buddhism comes from Mexico too, or at least was there before Christianity was. How do we know that? Well, Buddha's mother was named Maya. Maya. His name was Guatemala.
Guatemala.
That's Guatemala.
Yeah.
Exactly. So Guatemala is the two words Buddha names. Guatemala and Maya. Guatemala. That's Guatemala. And Guatemalans look like Buddhas. Sorry, guys.
No, I have a question. Whenever I hear, things sounding like things.
Johnny's our skeptic. That's his job.
It seems that a lot of the comparisons you're making are in anglicized versions of the country names and the words.
Sure. That's a good angle.
Why is that?
No pun intended. That's a good angle. Well,
Gotcha.
English does not belong to England. English is the oldest language on the planet. And I can verify that.
Okay.
English is the oldest language on the planet. Written phonetic language. Keyword phonetic. English, what's the oldest language in the planet? Written language, phonetic. Can you, any of you guys tell me?
Arabic?
No, far from it. Before that, before the Hebrew, before the
Aramaic?
Greek. Before that, you have Phoenician.
Okay.
Phoenician. From Phoenician, the Phoenicians were these ancient sea people that showed up from nowhere and rivaled the Greeks, rivaled the Romans, right? Were superior in many ways. They were much taller on average, okay? They had a complete knowledge of the ocean and sea travel. The Romans and Greeks were so juvenile, compared to the Phoenicians, that they were afraid to travel the open sea. They had to keep the coastline within view or else they would get lost, right? Well, the Phoenicians could travel the open seas at night too. They were not afraid to sail at night. The Greeks and the Romans were very afraid to sail at night. They could use the stars to guide themselves across the Atlantic. Well, the Phoenicians came to America. That's besides the point. From Phoenician, you get Hebrew. From Hebrew, you get Greek. From Greek, you get Roman. From Roman, you get English. Or Latin, sorry. From Latin, you get English. So I just told you where English comes from, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there's one problem. That's not the only place it comes from.
Oh, you set us up.
It's a one-of-a-kind language. Not only does it come from that, one of the oldest languages known to exist, written alphabet. You also get English from the runic in Scandinavia, which is what the Vikings, the Finnish people with their boats, Vikings, Sweden, they were writing runic. Well, I can show you runic and Phoenician, which went by the word Punic. So Punic was another name for Phoenician. Phoenician and runic are the same thing. And from runic, you get Germanic and you get English. So which one is it? Academia. Is English come from Sanskrit? Sorry, not Sanskrit. Does it come from Phoenician? Or does it come from, sorry, I got people trying to come in the door here at my store.
We appreciate you shutting down shop for us.
Yeah.
That's all right. But I'll show you runic and Punic. If you guys, if someone doesn't know a little bit about language, this can kind of be hard to understand without visual.
Explain to Xavier. I know what you're talking about, but
English is my second language. Yeah, come on, give me a break.
I have no clue what you're talking about.
English does not belong to England. It is angular writing system. It is an angular method of writing letters. That's it. It is angelic language because angels are angles. Angels of light are angles of light.
That's the way in German too. It's Engel, I think, in German, as you say angel. So
you say angles?
Engel, I think.
Wow,
something like that.
dude. Gee. So runic, is that what the word is?
Yeah, I actually don't have a picture of that. Dang. Runic and Punic. I'm gonna look it up on the internet.
What are those?
Is that runic? Does that mean like it's runes written that way? Is runes? Is that what that means?
Yes, runes. Thank you. Runes. Runic is runes. So here I'm about to show you what I'm talking about. Officially, we are told that these two languages have no relation, other than the fact that English is the perfect intersection point between these two most ancient languages. Okay. Now I'm about to show you my screen so you can see what I'm talking about. You guys see that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, there's Punic and there's Runic, and they are the same, and modern academia will not admit this. It's YouTubers with nothing better to do that are
Hold on.
people.
Did you spell out FUPA?
It does spell FUPA, yeah.
Fupa's been around for a while, dude.
Oh,
It's,
interesting.
it's the most ancient word known to man. But let's talk about a little something more interesting. We just started talking about the Phoenicians, right? Well, the Phoenicians are the Atlanteans. Like, I'll just start speeding up, speaking matter-of-factly. Florida is Atlantis. The Tampa Bay seaport is the capital seaport of Atlantis. The Phoenicians came to America, and that's already a contentious topic. Well, the Phoenicians are the descendants of the Atlanteans. You have the Atlantic Ocean, named for Atlantis. You have Atlanta, Georgia. You have Atlantic City in virtually every state on the East Coast. You have Lantana, Atlantis in the Bahamas. It's right in front of our faces, but no one will admit it. The Pillar of Hercules is the Florida and the Yucatan. Pillars of Hercules in North Africa are not pillar-shaped. Florida is pillar-shaped. It's a big old cock, essentially. The Yucatan is the same thing. They're pillars. These are the Pillars of Hercules. The Straits of Florida were actually called the Gibraltar of the West. Gibraltar of the West. Cuba. Haiti is Hades. Haiti is Hades. If Florida is paradise, what's underneath paradise? The underworld. In the Greek myth and the biblical myth, Hades is right under paradise. Well, Florida's paradise and Haiti is Hades, the underworld. It's right there for everyone.
Say that one more time.
So Haiti is an island south of Florida. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Yes.
Haiti comes from Hades. Not officially, but I'm telling you, it comes from Hades. And how do we know this? The Creek natives that populated the whole Gulf Coast area are Greek descended. The Greeks were some of the first people to populate Florida as well, where they had 2 colonies in Florida when the English showed up in the 1700s. Okay? New Smyrna and Tarpon Springs, Florida. And Tarpon Springs, Florida ties into Atlantis because the Tampa Bay area, which is Tarpon Springs, is right there, was the capital seaport of Atlantis.
There's so many bombs getting dropped here. My head is trying to digest it.
Well, let's just show you a little stuff. We're talking about sea people. We were talking about the Garden of Eden. How do those two tie up? Well, the Garden of Eden comes from the Greek myth of the Garden of Hesperides. Hesperides is where we get the word paradise. Paradise comes from the Garden of Hesperides. Garden of Eden, Garden of Hesperides. Okay? From the Garden of Hesperides, we get paradise, and paradise is the Garden of Eden story with Adam and Eve. Well, that story is taken straight from the Greeks too. That's Atlas and Hesperus. Atlas, Adam, right? Atlas is the father of Atlantis. So Adam is the patron god of Atlantis. So that tells you humanity comes from Atlantis. Well, that's the Atlantic Ocean. Okay. I'll just show you guys what I'm talking about. Atlantis
Johnny, checking in
giant.
thoughts.
I love it. I'm just listening. I'm letting it wash over me.
Was giant people, giant ships, giant culture, giant empire. Okay.
They had to be tall if they wanted to live that deep in the water, like to breathe. Just walk
well, I
around.
just showed you some giants in Florida. So we know there was giants in Florida. And if we had an ancient maritime culture in Florida, around the world where there's evidence of ancient maritime cultures, you find ancient stone anchors. Ancient stone anchors are on average about 500, 300 pounds, the size of a backpack, so that two men could throw it off the side of a ship and pull it up. And this is how all sea travel was done for thousands of years up until about 500 years ago. And basically, this is where it gets good, guys.
This is where it gets good?
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
This is crazy, bro.
Atlantis.
So this is an ancient stone anchor. Okay, this is getting pulled up in the Mediterranean or the Bahamas or something. And where you find ancient stone anchors like this, these are rocks with holes drilled through them, right, bored through them. And you find these mostly where you'd expect to find them, in the Mediterranean and in the Pacific, in Polynesia, Indonesia, where you have a very rich history of maritime travel, right, in maritime culture. Well, Florida, specifically the west coast of Florida, has the largest and oldest ancient stone anchors in the world, bar none. One problem: the modern academia does nothing to recognize them, has not studied them, has not sent anyone out to go look at them. They do not even acknowledge they exist. You cannot search, you cannot Google giant stone anchor or ancient stone anchor in Florida and find the ones that I'm talking about. You might find a couple like these small little guys that might keep a canoe. Well, I'm about to show you something
Whoa!
you wouldn't believe. That is a 8,000-pound stone anchor made of solid limestone, plopped in someone's front yard in Pinellas County, Florida, or Pasco County. These are concentrated around Pinellas and Pasco County, Florida, which is essentially near Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is Hillsborough County, Pinellas County, and Pasco County.
That guy could not be more Florida, by the way.
That is John Saxer. You guys can check out my channel documentary I made with him called The Saxer Stones, or The Saxer Saga, about these ancient stone anchors of Atlantis.
Wow.
So that's supposed to stop like a boat, obviously, like a Christopher Columbus boat, like the Santa Maria type of shit,
yeah.
like Santa Maria.
A rock that size, an anchor that size, easily would hold down a Nina, a Pinta, or a Santa Maria. The one I'm about to show you would hold an aircraft carrier. You think this one's big? You ready?
Yeah.
Beg for it, baby.
Beg for it, please. Can we get it?
Okay. Oh my God!
Holy shit.
Damn.
He's about 5'9", 5'10". That's a 12-foot anchor, well over 10,000 pounds. That patina, the color on it, indicates the age. That is at least 7,000 years old, that rock.
But I thought
So let me ask you something, though. So did somebody move that there?
Or
was that found
initially,
there?
yes. Basically, Atlantis was destroyed by a tsunami. Okay? That tsunami threw these anchors up onto land and destroyed any trace of the ships that went with them. The ships would have been dematerialized immediately. Okay. And do you know what this event was? This was the Chicxulub crater that is right across the Gulf of Mexico. That is the meteor that killed the dinosaurs and reshaped Earth as we know it. That's right across the bay from where you have evidence of a tsunami throwing the largest stone anchors known to man up onto Tampa Bay, essentially.
What is the evidence that there was a tsunami?
The fact that these are dozens of miles inland, and they originate from the ocean.
Now, let me just ask you one. I just want to push back on one thing. Go back to that picture.
Sure.
Yeah,
the only question I have is, why is it on like a...
Well, that one was incorporated. So very recently, in the last 100 years, as white people started moving down to Florida, it's only like Florida's only essentially 100 years old. 1920s is when everyone started coming down here in big groups and living here permanently. Up until then, the only reason people came down here was the spring water, the fountain of youth. But we'll get into that another part. But sorry, what was your question? I got a little.
But okay, but when we look at this, there's like a sidewalk display under.
Yes,
the
these
rock.
these were incorporated into the landscaping. So when they found these scattered across Florida, they would take them and prop them up and make them kind of like the centerpiece of these shitty little neighborhoods. This one's in the ghetto. So
So funny.
they just stuck it in some concrete and just stood it up and they're like, all right, done here, and just left. And
Could that be an argument?
No one even knows what this is. And these have rope marks. So these holes have rope marks that indicate that they've been, ropes have been hugging them and eroding a very small little kind of corner where you can see the rope has worn down the rock. I'll show you another one. People might say, well, is that hole natural? Maybe those holes could be natural, right?
Maybe these are just glory holes for giants.
Well, that one has I've joked before on my channel, that one has a bleached asshole. This one. But if you want to say that this could be a natural hole, you certainly couldn't tell me this is a natural hole. And inside that hole, there is the same patina or coating that tells you this rock was pulled out of water and exposed to air 7,000 years ago. Inside that hole was made thousands of years ago. A perfectly bored hole.
So you're telling me people have
Wow. Can't hear you.
You're saying people have been.
Still can't hear you.
You're saying. No.
Hold on.
You're saying
Now
people.
you can.
You're saying people have been traveling here way before because of those anchors. Would you say Christopher Columbus knew where he was going instead of saying, you know how they say he was going to India trying to get spices?
Hold on, stop. Based on everything you've learned so far, do you think the official story that he thought he was going to India?
No. I want to know.
Real?
No, I want to know if he already knew where he was going. Like if he already knew destination. If someone saying this is the address to get there, and they just made it
address,
up.
yeah.
Whatever.
I'll tell you why. Everyone that went on that ship with Columbus's first voyage on those 3 ships were Spanish, right? That's kind of what we've been told. Well, that's not true. Christopher Columbus, there was one very special man on that voyage. One very special man. His name was Guillermo Harries. And Guillermo Harries was the navigator for the voyage. Navigator. How do you have a navigator for somewhere you've never been before in a direction no one has ever gone before? What's the point of bringing a navigator?
Yeah.
Well, not only was that navigator pretty much obsolete in that scenario, they're going to undiscovered lands. They thought the world was, they thought they were going to fall off the edge, and that's no diss towards flat Earth. And I'm down with the FE for sure. But they thought you'd fall off the edge, and we now know that's ridiculous. But why do you need a navigator to go off the edge? Well, let me just cut to the chase. That navigator, I told you his name, Guillermo Harries, right? That's a Spanish name. Wrong. That is a Spanicized name. His real name was William Harris, and he was an Irishman. And that Irishman was the only Irishman on that expedition. And Columbus met him, and he told Columbus that I know of a continent, large continent, unknown to man, and that's where he took Columbus. So the Irish have been going to America well before the Spanish, well before. That's why they needed an Irish navigator to get there. And what was I telling you about the Seminoles and the Moors? They're half Irish.
Whoa.
Dude, this is crazy, bro.
So these are just regular stone anchors, like normal sized ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you can see the difference between these stone anchors. And having two holes on that stone anchor is a dead giveaway that that is a stone anchor, because when you would deploy these, they would get stuck in the muck down at the bottom. In order to pull them up, you would have a rope on one side and a rope in the other hole, and two men would go to either side of the ship, and they would rock this boat. They would rock they would pull the ropes from either side and rock the rock loose. They'd rock the rock loose and pull it up. So that's what the two holes are for in one anchor, right? And these are all over golf courses.
What are these
These are
stones
all over.
called?
Sorry?
Is there a name for these stones?
I am the first person to name them.
And what?
I am literally the first person to name them in America. And I named them Saxer Stones because they were discovered by a man named John Saxer. Very interesting man. You can check out the whole story on these anchors and Atlantis. Florida was Atlantis. You can check out the whole story on my YouTube channel, Saxer Stones, Saxer Saga, and a new one coming out called the Saxer something. I haven't decided yet. But John Saxer, he's descended from a royal family. Actually, the royal family. He's actually a cousin to the Queen of England. They're the false bloodline. He's the true bloodline. If you know, Anglo means English, right? Well, Saxon means German. Saxon, he is from the von Sax family. John Saxer. If you go look up the Queen of England's real last name, the Queen of England's real last name is Saxa. Saxa. They changed it during World War I because they were fighting the Germans, and they are German. So they had to change their names so that their country wouldn't revolt against them.
Yeah.
So that's why.
Okay. So the question gets into who installed them.
The anchors.
No, the royal family. Who installed the fake royal family?
Well, it's not so much that they're fake. It's just that they're too inbred to be effective anymore. So they are descended from the right bloodline, but they haven't done well with that royal blood.
I've heard so many stories, and this gets into like, why is everything a lie? And it's like you got back to Rome and the Vatican. And like to me, this just is another thing of black nobility and like black cube of all this like dark arts, fallen angel, like stuff. Like this is why nobody knows.
Well, that's why Cuba's communist, because Cuba is the land of the cube, like I was saying. Cuba is the land of the cube, the Kaaba. Kaaba is Cuba. Okay. And this is the original cube. Like I said, the fertile, the crescent.
Super interesting, dude. Then you get into like China, Confucianism, and how Confucianism is like basically the father of communism. It's like there's so much information, and it's like this just fits into everything we've been talking about. And it's like it totally clicks.
And like, would you consider this ancient history? Like to me, it's not, because ancient history is like Egypt. That's what I consider like ancient. This is just shit they didn't want us to know. In my eyes, like
this is hidden history.
Well, it's both.
Hidden, yeah,
It's both.
more like hidden history. Yeah,
But
Yeah, I don't quite get the distinction.
Atlantis, I think predates Egypt.
It does. The Sea People predated Egypt. You were just talking about the Romans and the Egyptians. Well, believe it or not, they're actually some of the same people. How do we know that? Gypsies, which come from Egypt, we get the word gypsy from Egypt. What do they call themselves? Romani. Romani. Those are the Romans.
Oh
the Romani.
my God, really?
The true Romans. This is why Rome ruled Egypt for a very large amount of time. And this was a one world empire. This wasn't just one empire giving way to the next, then conquering the next, then giving way to the next. Before the church, the world had harmony like you could not imagine. Okay.
Dude, you are speaking exactly what I believe. The Vatican, black nobility, the rewriting of Christianity, the rewriting of just everything.
Well, where did the black nobility come from? From Venice, right? Venice, the Venetian bloodlines. Well, you have a Venice in Florida, a Venice in New Orleans. Okay, you have so many Venices in the
In
Southeast
LA?
United States.
LA, there's one in here in LA. There's
In
one
Venice
in
and
LA.
LA. Thank you. And what's California? California is the caliphate. The caliphate. Caliph. It's a California. It's Islamic. These are Islamic people, you know. The some of the first accounts of the native Californian people were dark-skinned people, black-skinned. Okay. Kali, if I'm not mistaken, is the black goddess, Kali. And from Hindu.
Look that up, bro. Dude, this is crazy. But
Well, she's not always black, but she's dark-skinned. Blue-skinned. Right. Blue.
So let me type in.
yeah,
So what?
go with that. See what that is. See if that comes up.
I don't think that's
Kali. Kali. K-A-L-I.
K-A-L-I. K, not C.
The other K.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, we've had her up.
Shit.
So that's California. Cali and fornication, right?
Exactly
Red Hot
how
Chili
it feels
Peppers.
right now living in
Shut up.
California.
Oh, my God.
So this is the land of Kali. Kali, right? California is the Kali Yuga. It's the zone of madness and mental illness and fornication and treachery
And Kali is the goddess of what? Death?
so Hinduism is not Hindu cosmology is not my expertise at all.
Okay.
She who is
these
death.
gods.
She is death, bro.
She's a destroyer. Shiva's the destroyer. I guess she kind of has, what does it say? The ultimate goddess of power. The goddess of ultimate power is what they say. You know that there's a Baghdad, Florida? There's a Baghdad, Florida. There's a Jerusalem, Salem, and all these southeastern states. But the wood that Noah's Ark comes from Arkansas down the Mississippi River.
Wait up. What?
Noah's Ark, yeah. And the Appalachian Mountains are the apple of Eden. The apple of Eden, of paradise, Appalachia. The Apalachicola River. Of the 28 trees that grow in Eden, that are named in Eden, 27 of them grow in the Apalachicola area of Florida.
Oh, my God, dude.
And gopher wood, which is the wood that in the Bible, the ark was made from gopher wood, right?
Okay.
Gopher wood grows one place in the world, Florida, along the Apalachicola River, near Tallahassee. What's Tallahassee? Tallahassee. Allah, right? This is all Arabic. So this was an Arabic land. Islamic. The Fertile Crescent, the true Fertile Crescent, was the Gulf of Mexico. Dallas, Dallas, Tallahassee, right? Alaska, Algonquin, Alberta. The list, goes on and on and on and on. These are Arabic prefixes.
All right, so let's get into your number 5 talking point. Dude, listen, you're crushing it. Yeah. You're crushing it. I'm just downloading so much information. I need a halftime.
Sam needs to take his hat off. Just let the heat kind of radiate off his head.
I'm just trying to digest everything you're saying because it's coming from so left field, but it's all tracking at the
What a
same
great
time.
what a great way to end the year though with some heat like this. This is great.
I mean, dude, we got nothing but bangers at the end
really
of the
is.
show,
We're
bro.
doing a good
but
job here.
at the end of the year, but man,
Thanks, Mark.
Dude, we're living in the wrong state. We're living in Black Cali. He's talking about
Yeah,
the fountain
bro.
of youth. We gotta move.
It sounds like we might
dude.
need to. You've always loved St. Pete, right?
Dude, if I give the mother of the children to move there, bro, I'd move to Florida in a heartbeat. I'll fight mosquitoes, dude. So what is this Croatian unity? What is that?
Okay. The Koreshan unity.
Oh, I got close, bro. I'm so proud of
Koreshan.
myself.
So Koresh,
Dave Koresh?
Cyrus Teed was a man that started a cult in another state. I think.
David
shit,
Koresh?
I don't remember. No, that's a different cult member. That's a different Koresh that took the name. They both. The one I'm talking about adopted the name Koresh. The guy you're talking about, I'm not sure. But Koresh is essentially Persian, right? There's another Middle Eastern Arabic theme popping up. Is Persian for Christ or Cyrus. Christ, Koresh. Okay. Now, this guy, he started a hollow earth cult, a celibate hollow earth cult, and moved down to Florida, where he said he was going to start a new Jerusalem that would house 10 million people. And they started building these gardens. They started building this land, this estate, this commune in Estero, Florida, near Fort Myers. Now, who were their next door neighbors? Well, I'll tell you. Thomas Edison and Henry Ford were essentially their neighbors, just in the next town over. Henry Ford and Thomas Edison would spend days and days on this commune with these cultists. And in fact, these cultists had some of the first electricity in America because they were friends with Thomas Edison. Henry Ford would go there and talk with them about astrology. He almost got his palms read one time, but his assistant stopped him and said, don't. It might be black magic, right? But they loved going there, Thomas Edison and Henry Ford, who were actually butt buddies. They lived back to back in a house on the same property.
Lived back to back, slept front to back.
Are you being? They were lovers. Is that what you're saying?
It's alleged because they spent so much time together.
So guys can't be friends.
They took a 10-year. Did you know that Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, and Harvey Firestone, who was the guy that Firestone Tires that made all the tires for Ford's cars, right? Remember, Ford's the guy that chopped down half the Amazon, supported the Nazis.
Yeah.
That's a different episode. But basically, what was I talking about?
Oh, you were talking about how
You were talking about
Ford
Harvey
and Edison
Firestein.
were, and Firestein were all having gay orgies.
They took a 10-year road trip. A 10-year road trip around America in brand new Model Ts, Ford cars, one of a kind. They were van lifing. They were glamping throughout America. This was the first ever road trip, by the way. First ever road trip, you can search it up, was Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, and their billionaire friends taking a trip throughout America. And that trip started in the Everglades. It started where they would hang out with those cultists, right? Now, their road trip, the official start of their road trip, the official first destination was the Panama Pacific International Exposition, a world fair. So their tour of America, or as I like to call it, the Tour de Tartaria, or the Robber Baron road trip, started with a World's Fair. They started out going to a World's Fair. If you know about Tartaria, you know what the World's Fairs were for.
Free energy. Thomas Edison for sure needs to show up there.
Exactly. This whole time he was fighting a war where is electricity going to be free or is it going to be charged by the minute? And he said, damn right it's going to be charged. So what are the odds that the two men that helped to solidify us in this industrial serfdom, slavehood, where you have a car to go to work to get money to put gas in your car so that you can go to work, so that you can make money to put gas in your car just so you can go to work. Where did that all come from? It started with each family getting a Model T. Yep. And how did they advertise those Model Ts? By taking this road trip. And taking this road trip, the World's Fairs did the job of introducing new technology. That road trip, starting with a World Fair, did the same purpose, to brainwash the masses. This is what car culture looks like. This, you can actually, I kid you not, you can trace the origins of fast food, motels, gas stations, all of these things we take for granted, and we just assume are normal parts of life, originate from this road trip between Henry Ford and Thomas Edison. And everywhere they went, they were probably rewriting history, if I had to guess.
Yeah, he's right. Henry Ford made his cars, the T model, the perfect price for his workers to buy it. So they'd have to work for him forever. You want the car? That's fine. You're just going to keep working forever for me. But you can afford it. You can drive around, but you're my slave forever. He made a perfect price so they could keep working, but can't quit. You quit, you can't take the car.
We have seen no innovation on the internal combustion engine since its advent with the Model T. We have seen zero innovation. Okay, they have not innovated it. They've presented us with a false artificial alternative, which is the electric cars, right? Oh, don't do the bad, scary gas. Do the electric cars, right? Instead of improving the gasoline so that it's way more efficient, which cars used to be. Ask anyone, they'll tell you the gasoline used to be more efficient. It used to be better. But they tell you it's better now because they add things that they don't need to be adding into the gas. As you know, this whole pandemic thing went down, and they took, what did they take out of the gas? The ethanol. They took ethanol out of the gas, right? These motherfuckers. So you used to be able to run these engines, a diesel engine, you could run off of vegetable oil. And this is what they wanted to get us off of. They wanted every person, who else retired down to Florida at pretty much the same exact time? John D. Rockefeller. John D. Rockefeller was doing the gas for the cars. Ford was selling you the cars, building the cars, making sure that they had expensive gas engines. And then Firestone was providing the rubber from the Amazon for those cars. So these three robber barons were in bed together, and they were just shilling their crap to us, you know?
They were literally in bed together, too.
We all take cars for granted, you know. Cars aren't inherently evil, but they could be done better. And I'm not some global warming, retard, but,
Perfect.
That's not how you get it done, is by, I forgot where I was going.
Cutting emissions, that's not the way to do it.
No, by trying to get into electricity.
It's just another form of metering you so they can charge you for every breath you take in a couple of years. They're going to be saying, oh, that's too much carbon. That's too much carbon.
Oh, they're trying.
You know?
They're trying. I think they're going to lose, man. I think people are waking up more and more. I think if they could take down the internet, they would. I think there's forces of light that are battling back. That's my personal opinion. I mean, that's just my personal opinion.
And who's leading that battle? Who is leading that battle of good against evil?
Jesus!
It's Jesus. It's the good state of Florida.
Oh, snap! Stop!
At the vanguard of that battle.
How do you feel about your governor?
God bless him. I wish we had 50 of them.
And they all love that. I
get why you love him.
I wish that's how we found
He's
California.
got some Zionists in him, which is kind of.
How do you guys like your governor?
We hate
him. We hate.
But of course, we're in the Black Cali.
Yeah.
We don't.
Yeah.
Damn, dude.
We were talking about Cuba a little. Oh wait, no, that's the guy from Canada. Never mind.
We were talking Cuba. We did talk Cuba.
Oh well, what's Canada? Canada is Canaan. It's also Canaan, the land of the Canaanites.
Well, that makes
from
sense
the Bible.
since his father was Cuban, so that's true.
Yeah.
Oh right, yeah,
Johnny.
Everybody's scoring points today. So let's end this on a bang. It's all right. I mean, I can't believe there's more bangs. This might be called a gang bang. That's because there's so many bangs.
We're banged out, dude. For sure.
Right, we're running out of bangs. Everyone's tired.
We're gonna need a Blue Chew.
I don't even know if Blue Chew could save us at this point. There's been so many bangs. Let's get into this astrology and astrotheology of the ancient world, if you could.
Sure. Okay.
Oh, hold on.
What's that? What's that?
That
What
was, so
happened?
that was literally your notes, bro.
You have
You're
something
like-
better? He probably
you're
has
acting
something
like
better.
I just was like,
Man, this store's busy.
dude, he's waving off people.
It's a busy. We're a
Okay,
busy
let me
store.
listen. If you gotta get back to business, then
No, it's okay.
we don't have to. But if you want to spend 5 to 10 minutes on it real quick, then you shut.
Okay,
We'll
sure.
shut it down.
I'd like to show you some giant trees too, because I think you want to go out with a bang. That's a
Oh,
good
Well, yeah,
Eddie
let's
Bravo
go out with
loves-
the bang. Whatever
Well, yeah,
the bang
let's
is.
go with a big bang.
We
We can
drove
take
and we
it.
heard about this. I was
Eddie Bravo thinks that a lot of mountains are trees.
Well, we're not going to be looking at that big of trees, but Florida has had, keyword had, okay, had as big trees as California, as Oregon, as the Pacific Northwest. They're all gone now. One other thing, they were actually on average twice as old as the redwoods and sequoias of the West Coast. You had bald cypress in Florida. Okay. The bald cypress of Florida. In 2012, a tree that was 3,500 years old and stood 120 feet tall was burnt down by a meth addict that was smoking meth in the middle of the tree, in the middle of the hollowed out trunk. This happened in Florida. Right.
That is Florida for you, though.
That is Florida.
In the middle,
I'll show you.
inside the tree.
Hang on.
I wonder if his dream was like, I'm going to smoke meth under this awesome tree.
No,
and
he
it-
thought he was a hobbit, dude. That's what it was. You know he was. He was like, dude, I'm a hobbit now. I'm gonna live in this tree, and Gandalf is gonna come.
It's
yeah.
not a bad idea to live
I'm
under
a white wizard.
Then all the fire, and he was like, Saruman, what is this?
There was actually a woman. There was a woman that burnt down the tree.
Oh, no kidding.
So that's not the tree that I'm talking about. This tree is outside of Flagler's house, Henry Flagler. Henry Flagler, I forgot to make that connection. Henry Flagler was the business partner of John D. Rockefeller. And Henry Flagler was a co-founder of Standard Oil with John D. Rockefeller. This is the man that pretty much built Florida, Henry Flagler. He built St. Augustine. He built Miami, Palm Beach. Okay, he actually named Miami. They were going to name Miami Flagler Beach. And he said, no, don't name it Flagler Beach. Name it Miami. So he knew the Maya had come to Florida too. That's why you have Miami, Ohio. We're told that's officially unrelated.
What is that?
That is definitely related. But can you guys see what I'm showing right
how
here?
big this freaking tree is?
What is it standing on? Isn't it cut through?
Nope, that is a tree growing out of the ground in Florida in the late 1800s, late 1890s, if I had to guess. By the time they started cutting down the ones in California, most of the ones in Florida had already been cut down. They were as big, if not usually a little smaller, but we have no idea because they were all gone by the time we all got here. And on average, 2,000 plus years old. The one you're looking at right there is about 4,000 years old, 4,000-year-old bald cypress tree in Florida. This is the Senator. This is that tree in 2012 that got burned down. It has a hollow trunk. That tree, 3,500 years old. When Jesus was born, that tree was already fully grown and 2,000 years old. Sorry, 1,500 years old when Jesus was born. And Florida was packed to the brim with trees like these. And all we have are these little remnants, little leftover logs. That one's gone, no trace. This is the Senator. Biggest and oldest bald cypress in the world. Blah, blah, blah. 125 feet tall. It was actually 160 feet tall at one point, but a storm knocked it down. It had been there for 3,500 years until a meth addict went in the middle of it and smoked, set something on fire, and it burnt down the entire tree.
Sounds like an agent provocateur to me.
This tree was older than every single tree in California, every single
world.
redwood in Sequoia. They have those old desert trees that are older.
And and I highly doubt that was the only one in Florida. Why is there only one of those motherfuckers?
Well, this was just the biggest one left. It has a sister named Lady Liberty. That's 2,000 years old, and she's still alive, but she's not as big. Still very, very big, but all of these were destroyed, essentially. There you can see a big old chunk. I have a video about this
These
giant...
parasites, they're parasites. They've made deals with the fallen, and they've shish kebabbed our history so we don't know how special we are. That's what it all is, bro.
So I've got one more thing for you. You said astrology.
Yeah.
And I will show you some serious astrology. So Florida's birthday is March 3rd. That makes Florida a Pisces in modern times, okay? Legally, Florida is a Pisces because if Florida had a birthday, that birthday being March 3rd makes Florida a Pisces. Well, in the ancient world, let me see. In the ancient world, Florida was associated with the sign of Pisces. Now, is that a coincidence? How can that be? 2,000 years ago, they associated this state with the same constellation in the sky as today, Florida's birthday puts it in that same constellation of Pisces. Let me explain. I know this is hard to understand, to hear for the first time. In Egypt, the pyramids are arranged to the stars, correct?
Yes.
They're arranged to the stars of Orion's belt. So those pyramids are modeled after Orion's belt. And many, many other sites in Egypt are arranged to Orion's belt. Well, that's a different constellation. In Florida, which is filled with pyramids, by the way, Florida is filled with pyramids. I should have said that earlier, probably. They don't call them pyramids, they call them mounds. So Florida was home to an ancient mound building culture that would have cities with millions of people, gold, silver, sea travel, such refined society, until the Spanish came here and erased all history of that. But we're talking about Pisces.
Fuck Spanish.
Yeah,
So what I'm
I
showing
love
you,
the Mexicans.
what I'm showing you is different mounds or pyramid sites, old earthworks, castles, temples, blah, 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 burial sites that are plotted on different points throughout Florida. Now, these sites, none of them are arranged by accident. None of them. They are all arranged to the constellation of Pisces. Pisces rules fish. Well, Florida is the fishing capital of the world. It also rules the elderly. Well, Florida is where all the elderly move to. It rules water. Florida has the highest concentration of freshwater springs in the world. Okay. That's a better picture of what I'm talking about. These sites, these ancient sites, have all been aligned to the sign of Pisces. Here we go. An old hook constellation. These are shell mounds. And anytime you see the word mound in America, you can pretty much replace it with pyramid. You're not allowed to use the word pyramid in America because that debunks the mainstream. If there's all these pyramids here in America, how'd they get here? What people were doing it? It wasn't the Native Americans with feathers and bows and arrows that were doing this stuff. It was something superior. It was something ancient and technologically advanced that was terraforming this entire continent. Not only just for fun, not only just for necessity, but divinely ordained, sacred arrangements due to the stars everywhere, all over America, not just Florida, But Florida is special because you have this connection where today Florida is ruled by Pisces. In ancient times, it was ruled by Pisces. The odds of that lining up are like 1,000,000,000,000 to 1. Okay. Here you have different mounds, the Tomoka mounds, middens arranged to Pisces. I know it's hard to imagine what you're looking at right here, but each one of these little plotted points is essentially a pyramid, or a pyramid covered with dirt, like a hill, a mound, right? Same thing. Stars of Pisces. All these different sites. And not a peep about this on Discovery Channel. Well, let me just show you what type of mounds these are, what a pyramid looks like, what a mound looks like. You see this hill?
Yeah.
That's a mound. That's a midden.
Respect.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
You want to know what that mound looks like without the dirt?
Yeah.
Like that. Well, here, let's see if I can.
And are you saying the government covered that up, like America, or who would? I mean, that wouldn't be easy to cover up.
That's a good place to start. That's a good question. Was it a mud flood? Was this just natural thousands of years of just dirt and leaves and
Mud flood might explain it.
That's true.
But this is a massive, massive pyramid. Now let me show you what.
Because what is it? Göbekli Tepe or whatever? Didn't they?
Tepe.
Yeah, didn't they bury that purposely? Wasn't that underground, completely underground?
I'm trying to find this. There's this picture that perfectly explains it. God damn it! I should have been more prepared.
You're dead to us. You're dead to us. You're dead.
But this will show exactly what I'm trying to explain. There you go. Perfect. Voila.
Oh wow!
You see this?
Tonichi clan. Yeah, that's like the biggest one.
Oh, really? They went through and just cleaned it up, huh?
They all were cleaned up. They all just look like piles of dirt when you first show up. If you're first coming to America, they all look like piles of dirt because the native people living here at the time were not the people that built them. They didn't even know what the fuck they were for. Right?
Oh,
but
man.
here, let me see if I can
Oh, man.
pull this down for you. My screen's all there we go. Okay.
But you got to get rid of that one thing. There we go. Wow.
There you go. So Florida is filled with what you see on top. No one is expecting to find what's underneath because they have not been taught to suspect such. What if I told you that the majority of the mounds in Florida were incorporated into golf courses? Golf courses. The golf courses of Florida are on top of Indian burial mounds and pyramids. And that's a fact. You can look that up. If you go take a trip to Palm Beach,
Chaos.
on Palm Beach Island in a city park, they have a plaque that tells you what I just told you, that they chose where the golf courses would go based off of the hilliest areas. Well, in Florida, the only hilly areas are these mounds. Did you know that the original state flag of Florida had mountains in the background?
I did not know.
Well, all of these mountains were very sharp, very, very sharp looking.
And what they do, knock them down?
That's how I spell.
No, they didn't knock them. Well, actually, they did. The majority of them, they either covered in golf courses or deconstructed. You see this? You see the pyramid? You see the mountains in the back of Florida?
Yeah.
There's no mountains in Florida, not one. So what are these in the background? They're pyramids.
Wow. I mean,
Yep.
there's definitely no mountain, so yeah.
Let me see if I can get that picture full size.
Wow.
And who's that woman in the front there? That's a Seminole woman. And that's a steam-powered ship.
Huh.
There's your pyramids in the back. Your covered pyramids, right? A little messy, but
That
nonetheless.
was 1876?
I think so.
Yeah.
Is that what it said?
Yeah, I think it said 1876.
Yeah. And do you know in 1980s they got rid of the pyramids, and this is the new one. They got rid of the mountains, and this is the new one. With just see, no mountains. They took out the mountains in 1985.
Well, our minds are blown.
Past blown.
Too much. Too much. Too much.
This really could have been about 3 or 4 episodes.
Yeah, I mean, we got our minds blown. We're just in crazy town right now. Damn, dude. Damn. Well, Dr. Narco Longo, gotta be honest with you. I expected some old crazy guy, some old crazy dude in a Hawaiian shirt with a fucking nicotine stained mustache, talking crazy. And, you know, little did I know I'd get Dirk Nowitzki's kid who dropped Hammer of the Gods on us and really blew our minds, bro. And I'm blown away, dude. I find everything you said super interesting, man. And I am, dude, I think you're onto something. And I have always said this is like they have been lying to us about the history of this place. And you make me think that America, we always hear it's something we're and this makes me think that's really close to bullseye.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, go on, sorry.
We didn't even talk about the Fountain of Youth.
Okay, save it. Save it.
Yeah, you're coming back.
Let's give him.
We'll get you back,
New
bro.
Year's banger. We'll give him a New Year's banger right off the bat.
We'll figure that out, bro.
Let's do it.
So much. You've annihilated people's brains, bro. You've annihilated them.
Just the tip of the iceberg. That was just one folder in my laptop.
Just the tip, this guy. Just the tip, Dr.
Just the
Narco.
Dude.
One more time. Tell them where they can find you.
Old World Florida on YouTube. Old_world_Florida on Instagram. And that's really it. They know where to find me.
All right, man. Well, hope we didn't make you lose any business by shutting down shop, but hopefully we're going to send you a bunch of subscribers. Guys, please go to Old World Florida, subscribe, support. He's got some great videos, and you just blew our mind, man. Thank you so much for coming on. Guys, we love you. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed all the episodes you've been getting lately because we've been trying to go hard to pay for you all. We have another week of shows, and we'll figure it out. We love you very much. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will talk to you soon. Take care, everybody.
We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind. Tinfoil hat.